Hi, I'm Anna, and welcome to Timber Kids Online.
I just wanna thank you 'cause everything you made is so beautiful. Every single star and every beat of my heart, and it's beautiful. I just wanna thank you 'cause everything you made is so beautiful. Every single star and every beat of my heart, and it's beautiful.
Do you like to play games? I do. Let's play this game together.
Our word of the month is creativity. Imagining what you could do because you're made in God's image.
Today, we're talking about the Book of Esther. God made you for a purpose. Check out this video.
The Bible. It's 66 books of history, stories, letters, and poetry that fit together to form God's one big story. The epic adventure of how He created us and loves us so much that He made a way to rescue us. As we travel through the Bible, from Genesis to Revelation, we discover people who met God and found their lives changed forever. Now, for an amazing story. Inspired by the Book of Esther.
Esther was the Queen of Persia.
Wait, what? Queen?
Esther didn't become queen in the usual way. See, her father wasn't a king. and she wasn't from a noble family.
It's just me and cousin Mordecai.
In fact, Esther was Jewish. Many of God's people had been captured and brought to Babylon when their home, Judah, was conquered. Then Babylon was taken over by Persia. So Esther grew up in a land that wasn't her own. When Esther's parents died, her cousin Mordecai raised her as his very own daughter.
Always remember what our scriptures say. Love the Lord your God with all your heart and with all your soul. Love him with all your strength.
One day, a new king named Xerxes came to power in Persia. He was so impulsive that he actually fired his queen, Vashti, simply for refusing to show up at a wild party.
She will never see me again.
When Xerxes had finally calmed down, he had realized he now had no queen.
I have no queen.
He would have to find a new one.
I must find a new one.
So the king decided to hold a contest. He ordered his officials to gather the most beautiful young women in the land and put them through an entire year of beauty treatments. Esther was one of those girls chosen.
Cousin Mordecai, what do I do?
Don't tell anyone you're from a Jewish family.
I have chosen my new queen. Drum roll. My new queen is Esther.
Me?
Assume the queenly royal crown. I might have to resize it.
Just as Xerxes had so impulsively switched queens, he also promoted a royal official named Haman higher than all of the other nobles in the kingdom.
Bow to me, you fools!
Haman was delighted when all of the officials outside the palace bowed low before him. When he discovered that Mordecai refused to bow, he was enraged.
You have to bow! Somebody make him bow!
Haman was so angry. He made a plan to destroy not only Mordecai, but all the Jews in the land. He laid it out for the king.
Your Majesty, these Jews live differently than everyone else. They don't obey your laws.
Fiddlesticks. That's just wrong.
Precisely. Give the order to destroy them.
Consider it done.
Xerxes agreed to the terrible decree. Messengers took the letter all over the kingdom.
Hear ye, hear ye. On the 13th day of the 12th month, all Jews are to be killed. Hear ye, hear ye.
When Mordecai and the other Jews discovered the horrible news, they dressed in rough clothing and wept bitterly. Mordecai sent a message to Esther in the palace, telling her what Haman had done.
You must ask the king to save our people.
Esther was devastated. She sent a response to her cousin.
No one can come before the king unless he sends for them. If I do it, I'll die. Unless he reaches out his gold scepter to me.
Mordecai sent his answer right back.
You may not escape, even though you're queen. Who knows? It's possible that you became queen for just a time like this.
He's right. Here, tell this to Mordecai. Gather all the Jews. Don't eat anything for 3 days. I and my servants will fast too. Then I'll go to the king.
Esther faced an impossible dilemma, but she took 3 days to prepare her heart and her mind.
Bring my most beautiful royal robes.
Heart racing, Esther entered the throne room. Across the long hall, she saw the king seated high on the throne. Breathless, she waited for him to see her.
Please, please, please.
The king looked up. His dark eyes locked on Esther's face. And then he smiled. He reached out his golden scepter.
Thank God.
What is it, Queen Esther? I'll give you anything, up to half my kingdom.
Esther could have made her request right away, but she knew she would have a better chance if she made the king curious.
King Xerxes, if it pleases you, come to a feast I've prepared today. Oh, and bring Haman.
Consider it done.
Esther created an elaborate feast for the king and his number 2 official.
Look at me, you peasants, invited to the queen's banquet.
At the meal, King Xerxes once again tried to discover what Esther wanted.
I'll give you anything, up to half my kingdom.
Once again, Esther held her ground and waited for the perfect moment.
I'd like you and Haman to come to another feast tomorrow. Then I'll answer your question.
The king agreed, and Haman spent the whole evening bragging to all of his friends.
You guys, the queen thinks I am the bomb.
But the second feast was a different story. As before, Esther prepared an incredible meal. Both Haman and the king were quick to dig in.
What do you want me to do for you? I'll give you up to half my kingdom.
Esther took a deep breath. Something told her this was the right moment.
Your Majesty, let me live. Please spare my people. We have been sold to be destroyed.
Haman paled and choked on his fillet, but the king's face flushed red with rage.
Who is the man who has dared to do such a thing?
Esther turned her gaze on Haman.
Haman is the one.
In a panic, Haman threw himself at the queen.
Totally didn't mean it. Please, please, please let me live.
You dare attack the queen? Take him away.
That very night, Haman was killed, and the king created a new order that would allow the Jews to be saved.
We will celebrate this day with great joy.
God had given Esther a surprising position in a foreign nation, and when the time was right, she would use all she had been given to save her people.
Wasn't that a great story? Here's our bottom line.
Hi, everybody. Welcome back to Timber Kids. I'm glad to see you. I hope you've been working on creativity this week. Have you been thinking creatively and planning things creatively, doing anything creative with your hands? I bet you have, even if you didn't think about it, because God made us to be creative, right? He did. So creativity can come kind of naturally for us too, right? Well, this week with the bottom line, I thought maybe I would be a little creative. So are you ready? Here we go. Here's the bottom line for the week. Purpose for a you created God. Does that make sense? Let me say it again. Purpose for a you created God. No, I said it backwards. It's actually God created you for a purpose. Now, we don't always know what those purposes are, do we? Like sometimes if you're just hanging out and you're being 8 years old, you don't know what the purpose is. But this is what I think. God has a lot of little purposes for us, right? Like maybe you're really good at video games. Is that your purpose? Maybe not exactly. Maybe the purpose is that because you are good at video games, you can help somebody else who also likes video games. And in the process of helping somebody, you can be a friend in a way that maybe nobody else could exactly be the same kind of friend. And maybe that person needs a friend, and maybe that person needs to know Jesus. And because you are good at video games, you met a friend who is good at video games, and someday you can bring them to Sunday school, and you can talk about God. Is that a good purpose? Yeah. I think one of the purposes of my life that God made me specifically for is to teach Sunday school, because I love it. God created you for a purpose. Sometimes it's a big, huge thing. And sometimes it's just to make your mom laugh because you're really funny and God made you really funny, right? You, even though feel maybe sometimes like you're just a small kid, you were chosen by God. He knows exactly how many hairs are on your head, how many freckles are on your nose. He knows that you have a little cavity on that one tooth and that you laugh sometimes really, really loud and you snort. God knows all those things because He made you that way. And He made you special because you, even in your young age, are made for a purpose. And I am so grateful. Have a wonderful week.
Lord, you are great. You are really worthy of praise. No one can completely understand how great you are. Psalm 145:3.
That's all for today. You could continue the lesson by getting a parent guide.